Hi and welcome pedalers to another pedal preservation video. Up on the rack today we have another Revolution Cycles bike. If you're not local to the Edinburgh area, this brand might not mean anything to you. There was a store, it still is, for many years, called the Edinburgh Bicycle Co-op, and this was their own brand of bike. And they're actually very good bikes, albeit that they were their own brand. Now, this is not the first Revolution I've had. I've had actually quite a few. I wasn't even aware the brand existed. And I'm from Edinburgh, which is even more weird, but I didn't know anything about them until they started coming in. I haven't had this one in before. This is called the Courier. So we've had, I think it was the Street Finder and the Cullen, which I think is the mountain bike. The Street Finder, I think, was possibly a women's hybrid bike. So this one, I think, is probably more a hybrid bike as well, because you can see the spec out. We've got mud guards, we've got the rack on the back. But what is unusual for a bike of this age, so this will probably, well, actually, the story behind the bike, actually, this was donated by my brother-in-law, Andy, and he says he's had it for like 20 years. So from probably, that would be correct, because the Revolution bike range, I think on my investigations went from about 2000 to about 2016, so about 16 years of reign. But what is unusual about this one, considering when it was made, is it is a one-buy, and you just don't get one-buy bikes. I'm wondering, because I don't know whether it was meant to be a courier bike, as in an actual parcel couriers. It used to be a big thing back in the 80s and 90s. All the, well, you know, courier drivers, you had guys on bicycles cutting around town delivering parcels, which is one of the, if you're into your bike history, Muddy Fox, that's how they hit their big time, because they brought out a bike called the Courier. Sadly, things went sideways, and that was the end of Muddy Fox, which is a real shame. Although you still get them today, they're just like a Walmart brand, and they're rubbish, to be honest. They weigh a ton. So this, I think, being a courier bike, it was just a one-buy, so it's a nice simple drivetrain, and a lot of people convert their bikes actually back to one-buy. So the fact that this one has actually got it is no bad thing, because it's less work for us and it's a simpler drivetrain. Also, the componentry is very good. Shimano, Tektro brakes, etc. Great hybrid road tires as well. So this bike will actually cut around town really well. So let's go handheld cam and have a closer look. Okay, diving in on the front end, as I said, you've got Shimano V-brakes. Well, it's Shimano V-brakes on the front, and then Tektro actual brake levers, V-brakes, but we've got the Shimano shifter, because obviously it's a one-buy. Overall, the bike's actually in really good nick. A little bit of corrosion here and there, but that's always expected when bikes have been sitting in sheds, etc. As I was saying, a one-buy drivetrain, that's brilliant. That's going to make life for us a lot easier. So how many gears have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's an 8-speed. An 8-speed on a one-buy. To be honest, I have got my this bike here, the Carrera, is my kind of sort of fat bike. That's a one-buy, but it's a 1x8. It does run out of steam slightly, so sometimes on the big hills, not so good. But well, let's hopefully you're doing courier deliveries in a flat city. But overall, everything's looking good. I've had a little run round it. Things are a little bit tight here and there, but I think that's just a lot of dryness. The tires are pumped up. And let's see, we've got these awesome hybrid tires as well. Mud guards, rack on the back, comfort grips as well, which is good. Proper bar stem there, seat post, etc. So right, let's get about it. So as always, we will start off with the M check. So the M, we want to check front wheel bearing. So as I thought, absolutely smooth. I don't think there's going to be any problems, but let's just do it. Give the headset a wee wiggle. Yep, all working well. Bottom crank, no play. Sounds, feels absolutely fine. Back, up to the seat post. The seat post does work. I actually popped it up before it went in. But that's literally, if you're ever going to buy a used bike, check the seat. Take Allen keys with you. Check the seat post. If that thing is seized, then it's a 1 in a million that it fits you. And if it doesn't, you can't change it. And I can tell you now, this just writes off the whole bike. Check your seat post first. Yep, that's cool. Yeah, drivetrain is just slick and smooth. No bother there as well. We've obviously got air and tires, so we know they're all good. So M-check wise, yeah, that's all cool. So let's start cutting around the rest, starting off with cabling, and then we'll move on to the shifters, etc. So as I've already checked wheels, you know, if a bike is in poor condition, I always take the wheels off regardless, but these wheels are just spot on. There's going to be no reason or no advantage for taking them off. But what we do need to do is we're definitely going to release all the brakes, etc. This is mainly just to feel the brake levers. See, there doesn't feel a lot of tension in those. They may be okay, but it doesn't feel a lot of tension, but they don't feel tight. We will be oiling them though, and we definitely will be doing all the cabling, etc. The good thing is the cabling is all, that's the brakes, that's why that's slack, but the cabling's all on the exterior, which is a good thing. Makes life a lot easier for us. Okay, so we want to take all the tension out of the cables so we can get all the cable outers off. Easiest way to do it is, if we want to shift up into the biggest gear here, so pedal away, make your shifts. So we're now in the biggest one, stop the back wheel, and then what we do is, at the shifter, just go all the way back down again. But you'll see that not moving because it's stuck up in the top one, but what it does is, it slackens off all your cables, and these can now all pull out. And we can pull out the back of the shifter, see? It's all dropping down. I've done that one already, so that one's already dropped down. The only other one that it's left is the front brake, which you can get a little bit of room from it, but not a lot, but we'll do that in a different way. So the way to give us a little bit extra on this is on these adjusters. Do you see you have slots in them? You can pass the cable through the slot. There's another slot runs along the bottom, and if we pull that, that will actually drop out. So this is what you would do if you're replacing the cable, but we're not going to be replacing the cable, at least I don't think so. No, the cable's okay. But what it will do is it will give us that little extra room for lubrication. So you know, if you've watched any of my videos, you know I don't go in for all the fancy stuff. I just prefer to use any oil. This is just bike chain lube, winter bike, all weather chain lube. So what we want to do is just get all these cables lubed up nice. So I just do like a little pinch, rub it, and then you can move that one forward and then lube the next part like that. See, slew that. If you do find you've got a little bit of corrosion, see we do have a tiny bit here. It's not a big issue because it's actually on the exposed part, so it doesn't run into the sleeve. But if you want to get rid of that, if you just want to make it a little bit look a bit nicer, a little bit of steel wool. I've got a bit of Scotch-Brite pad, so we can just basically rub this up and down, and it'll just take off that surface stuff. You're also doing this as well, you feel if there's any kinks or anything in the cable. See, I can actually feel one about there. I think that is possibly on the outside of the cable, so shouldn't be a problem. When I say outside of the cable, I mean the part that's not inside the sleeve. So that should be okay. Of course, now that I've rubbed all that off, I'll just need to re-lube it. But the lube will actually act like a lube for when you're for doing the actual cable lubing. I have to say, just as a thing, once you've rubbed it, it's got a wee bit of a bend on it. That's a little bit clarty. If I have issues with this shifter, I think I'm going to replace the cable. At the moment, I would say no, this is actually cleaning it up. And since rubbing it with the Scotch-Brite, I have to say, certainly the sleeve feels like it's running way better. Actually, I'm not going to put that back on straight away, because what we'll do is, this frame could do with a clean. We're going to give it a clean. Actually, before I do the cleaning, I've just forgotten, of course, still to do the front one, which was a little bit different from the other ones. But we just have to oil the exposed areas. So we just run a little bit of lube onto there. But obviously we've got a little bit extra room because we have detached it from the bike. Again, a lot of times this lube is not for actual lubrication, it is to protect the cable for corroding anymore. What do you call it? Replace that. Right, well what we'll do is we'll just pop this back in here now, just so it's not hanging down, and it makes no difference for being out of the way as far as cleaning goes. So just rotate those to get them out of the way, and hopefully that should start working a bit better. Right, so we've got all the cabling out of the way, so we can now give it a clean. So for cleaning, weapon of choice, this is Muck Off Bike Cleaner mixed 1 to 4. I tend to go a little bit stronger because you're not going to be cleaning, because this stuff is a little bit brutal. It does get a bit of criticism for taking the shine off your bike, but because we're doing it as a one-off clean, it's absolutely fine. But if you're using it as a daily, you probably want to dilute that even more, maybe even going for like a sort of 1 to 8, 1 to 10 maybe, just for maintenance washing. My other thing is I use 2 rags. I've got one rag that I kind of use for everything, and then you have a dry finishing off rag. So this rag is already a bit sodden with cleaner and various other things, but it's ideal for this sort of thing. Just get it all over. Try not to spray it all over my cabinets and stuff. I don't know what the mix would do to that. Give the wheel a wee spin. 'Cause I want to get it over the spokes as well. You know, I think spokes are easily forgotten about. Right, let's let that soak in. But what I'm going to do while that's soaking in, just to agitate it all, this is just literally a paintbrush, but a car detailing brush would definitely work as well. But just to get in, it's just where you've got bits that are a little bit hard to get into. And of course, with all the cables being away from the frame, it makes it a lot easier just to get in, because normally you'd be cleaning around these at this moment. Right, let's start cleaning it down. Good thing about the muck off as well, sometimes it kind of leaves a little bit of a sleek finish behind, which is quite good on a faded bike. But what I sometimes do with these, because this has got like a matte paint finish on it, what I usually do just to kind of give it like a satin sheen is I'll come back with some polish, and I mean any kind of polish does, like furniture polish is ideal. The trick with the furniture polish, if you're using it, is to spray it on, leave it, like spray it on real heavy so it literally starts turning it white, leave it on, and then literally leave it on for like a few hours, and what happens, the furniture polish turns into, I would best describe it as like a kind of wax. So when you come back to clean it off, you're taking off that kind of waxy, well, you're not taking it off, you're polishing up the wax finish, so you get a nice shine. It works extremely well, black parts. So in the case of this, things like the mud guards and stuff, these will all come up nice and shiny, because they are obviously going to be a wee bit prone to fading. I think this bike's actually had a wheel change at some point, because the front and back are different, so I don't know whether it was the front that changed or the back. Who knows? I mean, it makes no odds. Bike's still a great bike and work really well, but I always find when you see new parts on a bike, yeah, bike's been used properly, but it also means it's been maintained, and that's the important part. A little bit of rust on these spokes, unfortunately, but there's not a lot you can do that, because you cannot get into changing spokes and stuff. It's just not. So I am going to hazard a guess the front wheel's a changed wheel, because its spokes are nice. So I think this is more recent. Whew, there we go. And then we can just come in with the dry rag and you just finish it off, because what the wet rag does is it tends to leave like little tide marks and stuff, so the dry rag will just take all that off. So it's just a kind of finishing rag. There we go. That is looking not too bad now. See the difference that it makes? Once I start getting all these black bits shined up, we're looking even better. We'll get all the cables reseated, and then we can get a little bit of a feel, like I was saying, whether we think whether they're going to be smooth enough. Oh my god, that's seated in proper. Of course, I'm forgetting I need to... Oh, of course, this is a shifter cable, so we can't do that old trick again. So if I manually move the chain over to the big shifter, what I can do is physically push the derailleur up, which will take all the tension out of it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's a little bit harder than it should have been. Rear brakes. Sorry, this is a little bit out of shot. And there, it's the same as in the front. Of course, we've got loads of tension out because we've undone the brakes back here. But we can now clip these. Yep, we're going to clip these back in. I've got a feeling it's not though. Ah, there we go. There we go. Brakes actually feel not too bad actually, not too shabby. Front brake, let's hook that back in. Put that on there, that in there, just keep it all tidy. It's probably a bit longer than it needs to be. Something feels a wee bitty, I don't know, feels a wee bitty scratchy. If we just maybe, that's a bit better. It's awfully long. For no real reason, we could probably shorten that. I'll tell you one thing though. Although, right, okay, so we've got one of the brake levers at the back is definitely sticking. We may have to possibly take that off and figure out what's going on. Yeah, so front brake is looking good. See, we've got a nice even brake from both sides. Oh, stops on the money. Yep, no problem there. But the back is going to need some work. Right, and again, let's get this hooked all back in. Right, and then we can pull in, see where we're at. So what we're going to do is obviously pull to it snug and then just give it a few mil. I think I've probably just let too much out there, but we can try it. Yeah, no, that feels good actually. Just push the boot back up there, nice and snug. Right, just want to retweak the tension on the arms. As you can see, that arm's not throwing an awful lot. So this one's got too much tension. So using the tension screw, we will just back that out. And that should start allowing the other one to start pulling. See, there it going. What we want, kind of, well, we start off where we want an even throw on both sides, but also remember, check the rotation of your wheel, because you might end up where it's touching on one side, it's closer, so you might need to adjust it, either pulling it this way or pulling it that way. But that actually looks not too bad. Oh, a bit of spin there, but the chain's still off. There we go, perfect. Just give it a bit of action, see if it changes its mind. No, we're good. Excellent. So I will just nick this one up and then we can cut. Cut the excess off. Sometimes I just leave these too long. I don't know why I do that, but I do. Now we will come back and put a little furl on the end of that. Right, front brake time. So let's get this disconnected and then we can get the brake blocks changed. These brake blocks are actually, going by the amount of corrosion that's on these blocks, I would maybe say that possibly these have not, maybe they have been changed more recent, although they are exactly the same type. Oh, God, you just cannot get these things off without just all the bits going everywhere. You just can't do it. It's just, See, so we've got left, right, and front. So they're going front to the back. Back. So they're going to be splitting there, see, between the two silver ones. Let's try and do this. In fact, I think I've got that's actually the left one, wrong side. As before, I'm taking my gloves off because I just won't be able to do it bad enough. I like to try and keep them in order, but it's just literally impossible. So, to get that round there, like that, and then we have, that goes to the outside, so in my mouth. So it's that one, then that one, concave going in the way, and then washer, and then nut. Flip that over. Right, want to make sure that's all loose so the brake block can pivot freely. And that marries up with the rim. Put our finger in there to stop it turning like that ways. Right, hear that knock noise? That's exactly what we're looking for. Conk, 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 conk. So new block, and she goes. Right, so slacken that off. Let's get this all nice and loose. Although, to be honest with you, why is that? That's better. Yeah, gotta have that right loose, just so we've got quite a big plane there, and we want to make sure the whole you know, it can angle both ways. We want to make sure that it's not that the back of the block is hitting the tire first, although yeah, because that is the wrong way. There's a thing called toe in, but that's where you have the block at the front hitting. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the spring out of the way, because I have a feeling these brake blocks might actually be hitting that spring, and it's stopping me from, yeah, that's definitely better. Might be an idea actually for future to actually drop the spring out of the way to give you a little bit more adjustment. Now what's going to be interesting, that spring going to go back on. Yeah, that's it now. Let's make sure that's nicked up. It is. Rightio. Right, let's get all this hooked back in. Although I'm kind of thinking I might ditch that noodle. Yeah, because we put a new noodle on the back and it's all looking nice, and then that just looks a bit crappy. Right, this looks like, obviously check it's the same angle. It is. Right, I'm going to swap this over. I'm sounding funny because it's in my mouth. Just lub that out. That off. Just wondering whether it's worth changing this cable. I mean, to be honest, it looks quite clean. Sorry, I was out of shot. I'll just put it on, see how it feels. But that feels good. That feels fine. So it just goes under there. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wire brush that. You hit the black bit, it's going to take the paint right off of it. So I'm just going to use my fingers to protect it. Oh, you bugger. Not always a good idea. There you go. Not ideal. I could do with a machine, buffing machine, to bring that up. Back at the job at hand. Well, I'm kind of doing this the wrong way around. Right, so I'm going to pull that over. So can I turn that way just so I can pull on the cable. Again, this is where I need to have a standard Allen key for tightening these up. The T-bar does not work. Right, so I've got a bit of pinch, I don't tighten them up full because I don't want to destroy the cable. Right, so there's not an awful lot of, in fact we've got a wee bit of adjustment up at the handlebar, so I'm going to let that adjustment off first, because we can always put the travel back in. Right, we want to do our brake adjustment now. So I'll just try to get you in shot, you can see both sides. It's actually throwing quite well. We're getting a little bit of touch in. Not sure what side it is. Wheel's true, so no issues there. Just pull it hard just to... So what I can hear is we need to bring the levers over this wee bit. So we just want to put a tiny bit of tension on that side. Ooh, these are a wee bit. I'm going to let it off first because these are all a little bit tight. Obviously haven't been touched for either a long time or ever. There you go. Boom, how quick that stops. Boom. That is a perfect brake. So you can nick that up. Let's see, well, like the other side, we'll come back and put a ferrule on the other side. So, brakes are a good one. Let's check the chain, because we haven't already done, so I'm not expecting this to be bad, but yeah, see? Big gap under there. That's actually got loads of life left in it. No problems there at all. Gear time, let's see where we're at. So, on first noticing, I notice we're not down in the bottom gear here. So we could have a bit of a tension, and we might have to adjust the cable. But let's see how we go. Let's go right up the top. So top, no bother. A little bit lacking in tension there. Ooh, that feels stiff. Oh yeah, I can't turn that. Right, okay. Oh, none had there. Next one, there. Oh, ooh. Right, okay, we can't get into that bottom gear, so it's definitely... right, okay, so what we want to do is get it down to the bottom gear, just take the tension out of the cable and see if that adjuster is seized. Oh, that is just rock solid. Alright, so I've got adjustment up at the top end. So, although I prefer to do the adjustment down here, let's just adjust that enough. Ah, see, that's all the way down. Right, we're going to have to go in at the Allen key and just start from scratch. Take all the tension out the cable and see where we're at. I'm trying to avoid changing the cable because I don't think it really needs it. But right, okay, so that's the cable completely slack now. So that should, yeah, see, there you go. Boom, drops down the bottom one. Let's see if the bump stops are set. I'm trying to pull it further down. No, it won't go. So the bump stops are correct. So it might just be a case of just put some tension back into this and tighten it back up. So all we want to do, we don't actually want to put tension in it, we just want to take the slack out the cable. So this bike keeps moving. There we go. But we do want enough tension that when we go to change, see, we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just going to give the cassette a wee degrease, just to clean it up. PE's foaming degreaser. I'm quite new to it, but I like it. And then they do a cassette brush to suit. This is really good, I have to say. So you just rub that on there. That will give the train a wee clean at the same time. But what we'll do is we'll just shift it up and down. And give it another wee clean. Any bits that I missed. Just to rinse it all onto the floor. Right, if you have the means, airline. Oh, sorry, it's bumping everywhere. There is one thing that's kind of bugging me is, I don't know, bar end caps. I mean, I suppose you can get down and tuck in and stuff, but this bike's bars are already a little bit narrow. In fact, thinking, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to take these bars off and just put a set of small riser bars on, because that will get just a bit wider and just raise it up a little bit. I think that'd be quite sweet. So, bar end caps off. Yeah, woo! I think this bike is probably just cusping on the age of when 90s bikes up to not, they had totally flat bars and very narrow, where now we ride a bit wider and a bit higher. You know what, this is a really nice bike. I just think we need to just go the little extra and do that. So first thing I need to get all this stripped off, grips off. Alcohol's the best thing, and the best way is you need to get the alcohol up inside. I just find if you just squeeze it in there, just sprays alcohol, and then just run your toothpick round, some more in the bottom, and that should be enough to get the grip moving. Yep, and as soon as you start twisting it, the rest of it just gets in there. Boom, there we go. But we'll be putting these back up on, so we're keeping them. There we go. Right, we can now get the rest of the hardware off. Okay, so first things first, we're just going to give this a nice rub down, get rid of all the high spots. I mean, there wasn't any crazy rust on it, so we're not trying to buff it all out. And then these parts here, which look a little bit worse, will actually be covered anyway. But also what the rubbing's going to do, it's going to key the metal, so my matte black paint will bite in better. There we go. Use the Blue Roll Ultimate, because it doesn't, it's lintless, which means there's no fluff in it, so that's ideal for that. Question is now, have I got any paint? Right, I put a bar end back on just so I can actually hold it while I paint it. So I try and paint it in here with a sort of minimal of overspray. I don't want to get like paint on the bike and stuff, but this is just satin black paint. So unfortunately, at this point, I actually lost the audio, so we're going to just have to basically wing it. So what I've done is I've got the paint on the bars and they're looking not too bad. So we just want to get these slotted into the stem. Now what we have to look out for is the bars have got a rise in the center, but the bar ends sweep back. So we want to get like a balance of the two, so we get a nice comfortable riding position. So what I do at this point is I'm just going to tighten the bolts up, nick it up. Now when the bike's on the ground and sitting on it, we can then have a better idea of sweeping the bars or twisting the bars to various angles and see what's going to work best. Okay, so we've just started installing the hardware. So we have the shifters on now, and we've got the brake lever on. So what I'm doing now is I'm just measuring how far in they will need to be to allow the grip to fully mount onto the bar. Sorry, it's just slightly out of shot here. But once we get all that lined up, then we can now start tightening the brake lever and the shifter up. But what we'll do is we'll just nick these up, because we won't ideally want to be sitting on the bike when we actually get these put at the correct angles. Okay, we're now working our way onto the left hand side of the bar, so we're going to put the rear brake lever on. As we don't have a front derailleur, there is just the brake lever that's on that side. So we're just going to We use the same method we did on the other side. We've used the grip to set the correct distance for the brake lever from the end of the bar. And I'm just going to sort of roughly guess the angle that the brake lever is going to be at, but they'll be properly adjusted later on. Okay, we can now get the grips on, so select the correct grip for the correct side. As always with when I'm fitting grips, I just use the same method, and that is just straight alcohol sprayed on the grip, sprayed on the handlebar. You just slide that on easy as you like. Goes on like butter. And the great thing is when eventually it dries, that will be fixed in place. It will not move, but it gives us plenty working time to get ourselves on the bike once we're done and get those, because they're the ergonomic grips. They've got like a sort of flat padded area, and it's important that you get them fitted at the right angle. Now I'm putting in the end cap, but unfortunately the end cap that I actually have spare doesn't fit. So what I'm going to do is once I'm down at the bike library, I've got plenty other end caps there, and I'll get one that fits properly. So I'm just going to use exactly the same technique of spraying the handlebar and then just sliding the grip over the top as I get in shot. There we go. Slide that up and then just twist it around to roughly it's right. You've got probably about half an hour working time with the alcohol in there, so you don't need to get it on straight away before it dries. It seems to last for a little while, and that's all feeling great. Right, normal audio is about to resume because I just remembered that the batteries had gone flat in the microphones and I had now recharged them. So sorry for the small interlude. So what do you think of that then? What an amazing bike. So a 20-year-old bike now getting a brand new lease of life, and with the small modifications we've made, putting a set of riser bars on it that sweep back slightly is going to make this a way more comfortable to ride. So for a fraction of the cost, you could be riding essentially what is £400 worth of bike for probably around about £100. We've done minimal work on it. We've replaced like a couple of cables. Obviously the handlebars didn't need to be done, but we've done it. The bars were free. I had them in my box. They were rusting away. We've repainted them and fitted them on. And apart from that, the bike I think is a very modern bike. It's got a 1x drivetrain, which is up to date along with all the new bikes. It's got paddle shifters, etc. Great V brakes made by Tektro. Hybrid tires, etc. We've got the mud guards. We've got the racks on it. So this will be a perfect commuter bike if you possibly have to carry something to work, etc. So as always, if you can subscribe to my videos and give it a like. It's a new channel. I'm on the startup and I get in fact I get virtually no likes on my videos, so if you could just like it, put any comments in the comment box at all, even if you don't like it, ways that I can improve and all the rest, that would be truly awesome. And it would be great if YouTube could just catch one of my videos and maybe start promoting it. So we'll see you on the next one. Bye.